All right, y'all, this is RTTI in New York City. I'm going to come at y'all today with something totally different. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to come at y'all with some knowledge that I was researching recently, and I had spoken to a few EI/TIs behind it, personally speaking, you know what I mean? In conversations that we were having. So I came to the conclusion that it's relevant for me to bring this to y'all attention, you know what I'm saying? So you guys could decide for yourselves if you feel that there's a connection there or not, and if you could gain something from the information that I'm giving you to help you understand your situation as you're being targeted through your own targeting protocols and your own personal tailor-made, targeting program situation. Now, in regards to what I'm going to bring to the table is information that you yourself could search and find for your own well-being, to educate yourself and make yourself aware of what exactly the psychological components that are put into this program to affect us. Again, there was someone, a veteran EI/TI, that told me about 85 to 90% of this program is psychological. I happen to agree with that, and so do a few other EI/TIs that I, roll with and that I speak to on the regular. I just want y'all to understand that once you understand how your enemy thinks and strategizes, you could come out with your own game plan on how you're going to cope with it. Because if you understand and you know what your enemy is trying to do to you, then you could come out with your own counter plan to diffuse, to deactivate, to re-entrain your mind and reprogram your mind to withstand all that bullshit that they bombard us with on the daily, psychologically, and continue to live day-to-day surviving through this program. That's as realistic and practical as I could bring it to y'all. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I have here a few videos that have to do with the id, the ego, and the superego. Sigmund Freud had a psychoanalytic theory that he created in regards to how he felt that the human mind developed in regards to the personality. He said it has three parts to it. One being the id, the second being the ego, and the third being the superego. I personally believe, after analyzing that and studying it and taking my time to connect certain dots with my own personal targeting, I was able to establish what it is exactly that they're trying to do with the psychological bombardment that they hit us with out there, on a daily basis. And basically what I came down to was, from what I understand, this is my opinion, is that they want to overload what the id within us has to cope with, because the id is totally reactionary. It doesn't think. So it's impulsive. It has, it deals with the aggressive nature within us, the sexual nature within us. It's the most primal source of our all human existence. You know what I'm saying? It's within us. So then I'm looking at that, and then the superego, which is basically what we've been taught as children: right from wrong, being rational as opposed to irrational, a wrong decision, a bad decision, good, bad, you know what I mean? Things that your mother or father instill in you. Also, you have society's rules and things of that nature. When you're in school, don't talk unless you are pointed to, raise your hand, all that stuff, these laws, these rules, these things that make up society so it could function properly, so to speak, right? When you look at what these people do with the bombardment of psyops on us, it's to get the id within us to react impulsively. It's like, for example, you're going to see in the video clips I'm going to put out there, but I'm going to just, say it right now with my words so y'all could have an understanding through the intro of what y'all going to see and what is, pretty much about, so y'all could get a felt understanding before y'all even see anything. So it's like if they bombard us with negative stimuli, right? And the negative stimuli is not only visual, but let's say it is starting off with visual, red, right? That's the most standout color that they use for obvious reasons to get our attention visually. That's the trigger, right? Then you have someone roll up on you in a car. It doesn't have to be red, could be a white car. But then the person behind the car comes over and, you're on the curb and the car comes, screeches and, makes you jump back. That's an audible attack to your psyche, the screeching of the tires. Then the person in the driver's side who just did that is wearing a red hat and has a red phone in his hand. Now that right there is supposed to trigger some sort of impulsive, aggressive reaction from you, right? So when you get bombarded with this on the daily, right? Picture this, understand this. When you're getting bombarded with this stuff on a daily basis, it creates a sort of frustration within you. Every time you see someone wearing red, or every time that you're having some sort of bad mood or what have you, understand that it's being generated synthetically with these psyops. And what they're trying to do is cause an imbalance within your id, your ego, and your super ego. Your ego is you in the conscious realm, in the conscious reality. Your id is in the subconscious, totally submerged in the unconscious. Your super ego is in all three levels: the unconscious, the conscious, and the super ego is above, a step above where the ego is. So it's in all three layers. Understand that what they're trying to cause is a total imbalance. It's to make you more reactionary. So therefore your id is fed with negative stimuli. Bam, 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 back to back, right? So if you have someone that's been bombarded with all that constantly for years, you got someone that is stressed out and is probably, caught in moments where they yell back at people, or they cuss at people, or, oh, that person's an asshole. That person is this, whatever. This, that, and the third. But you got to understand the science behind that. There's a method to the madness. There's a reason why they're creating that in you, so that way you could be reactionary and end up mentally ill within that realm. Because within mental illness, from what Sigmund Freud stated in his analytical theory of the personality, when someone has anxiety created within them, it's because there's certain stressors from the outside that have not been properly guided or channeled through the ego and the super ego. That means that the id has been overloaded. Do you understand what I'm saying? Once you find the balance, if a person's properly balanced from what he said, right? That means that their id and their ego are properly balanced. Now, if the super ego is also too high, then you have another imbalance, and you have a person that is rigidly like a perfectionist. That's what the video says within that. The guy that was talking about it, he said, if someone has a over processed super ego, that they become like a rigid perfectionist type of a person. And I know some, and I'm pretty sure some of y'all do too. So there has to be a healthy balance between the ego and the id. Once you have that, then you are considered a mentally healthy individual, right? This is what Sigmund Freud stated. I don't necessarily agree with everything he said, but in regards to the analytical theory of the personality with the id, the ego, and the superego, I do agree with that to a certain degree, especially when it comes to, down to us as targeted individuals / empowered individuals. From this point on, you would understand that you need to know these things. You need to understand these things. Because once you understand these things, then you know why they do this to us every day. They can't give you a chance to heal. It's like, picture you getting a cut anywhere in your body, right? And you don't treat the cut. You don't put, rubbing alcohol or hydrogen peroxide or anything like that. You just leave it open. And then you keep picking at it. What's going to end up happening? You might end up getting a real serious, painful infection. And it'll turn the cut into something worse than what it started off being if you would have treated it, right? These people understand that. The architects of this program understand that. And that's why they need to bombard us on the daily with these psychological operations, the psych warfare, in order to keep us under some type of control. You understand what I'm saying, y'all? They can't let you heal. If they were to stop targeting us, right? Let's say this, for example. A veteran TI told me this, you know what I'm saying? He said, even if they were to stop for a whole year, right? That they'll just stop targeting us. We'll be able to heal efficiently within that year, psychologically, right? But then after that year is over, if we see or hear any of the triggers that they've already sensitized us to, guess what? All or some of that trauma starts reemerging again. So understand this. When you go out there and you do what you got to do, whether it's you going to school, you going to work, or you going to shopping, you're going for a walk in the park, you going, to do some exercise, whatever it is, they're out there following you around, right? Some are actually targeting you psychologically, right? If you were not to get that for like at least 6 months to a year, we could all recuperate. They know that. That's why they don't give us a chance to heal. It's a constant bombardment of our psyche. That's why some, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, this is just real talk. That's why some targeted individuals seem to be batshit crazy, because they haven't had a time to heal in any way. And they've been system overload type shit. You understand? Unfortunately, they're on a level where it's almost irreversible for them. And that's sad, but it's not their fault. That's why it's up to us to educate ourselves and continue strengthening our minds behind that. Because what you don't know, like I've said before, can hurt you. All right, y'all. This is RTTI in New York City. I'm about to start the clips off, and I want y'all to pay close attention to what I'm about to put, all right? Because this is very serious, and it's educating, and it's necessary.
This is what I've discovered. There is the self we think we are, the self that attempts to deal with the outside world of reality. This self I call the ego. But ego is never the master of self, for we are constantly bedeviled by powerful unconscious forces in our beings. Before ego developed in us, there was id. Id. Id is all that is primitive and infantile within us. Id is the blind instincts of sexual desire and aggression. Id is opposed by another force that I call superego. Superego is rigid, punishing, and repressive, an inheritance from the repression of our parents and the restrictions that are part of the society we grow up in. So I found there are three distinct elements in our personalities. Ego, who deals with the world of reality, but who is also constantly affected by the demands of id and superego.
Just what do you mean you're not sure, David? Either you've got a firm commitment from Robertson or you haven't. Now, which is it? I happen to be in the position where I've got to know.
Well, Mr. Cooper, I'm certain he made a commitment. He didn't give anything in writing.
Oh, he didn't give you anything in writing. All those
Smash him.
things you get in writing.
I'll smash him. I'll kill you, Father.
You must honor Father.
Yes.
And they can bring me back firm commitments. Now, don't interrupt me when I'm telling you how...
Your father is a good man, David. Everyone knows
I
that.
can pick up the telephone.
Honor thy father. Honor thy father. Honor thy father.
I hate him. I hate him.
Honor thy father. Honor thy father, or you will be punished.
He stole Mummy away from me. I'm taking your mother away on a holiday, David. I hate him. I'll kill him.
What is it?
Oh, I love him.
Mr. Cooper, I'll go and see Mr. Robertson again. Thank you for letting me explain.
David's hate for Mr. Cooper is based on unconscious hate of his own father, caused by childhood jealousy, by the Oedipus complex. Freud said that without insight into these dark forces, we are doomed to play out our lives in an endless dramatization of our childhood relations with our parents.
It's great to be alone with you, Peggy.
In a restaurant?
Well, you know what I mean. Every time I go to your place, there's your roommate. Doesn't she ever go out?
Sometimes.
That's a nice dress, Peggy.
Thank you, David.
I want warm. I want.
David, little gentleman, don't stare at ladies. You know better than that. Honor thy mother. Honor thy mother.
Would you like something to eat?
No, thanks. I've already eaten.
I want. Oh, I want. There, David, baby. Put your head on Mummy's breast. I want warm.
It's kind of boring here, isn't it?
Where else could we go, David?
I don't know. Do you have any ideas?
Well, we could go back to my place.
I want warm. I want.
Honor thy mother. Honor thy mother. David? David, what are you doing down in the basement with your sister?
Yeah, let's go. But you're sure it's all right? I mean, you're sure your roommate's out?
Yes.
Our childhood relations with our parents, said Freud, govern all our later affections and often fill them with anxiety. David obviously has little sense of his own identity. Ego's job is to meet the conflicting demands of reality, id, and superego, and still preserve its own true identity.
The struggles between id and superego can be the source of our growth and progress as individuals, but only if we are aware of them and understand them. Without that understanding of those half-tamed demons that live within us, we are enslaved by our unconscious drives and emotions. We are victims of our own past.
Now you see what I'm saying? Like that's a example of what I was trying to explain to you all with being the id, the ego, and the superego. Saying it's a constant struggle back forth, a tug of war between good and evil, you could say. You know, the angel on your shoulder, the devil on the other, you know what I'm saying? And you're in between. So it's basically the id, the ego, and the superego. I mean, and the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because I want y'all to understand psychologically how that all plays a role within us and how we react to these perps and their tactics and, you know, the stuff that they hit us with psychologically on the regular. There's a reason why some of us, you know, want to punch these people in the face and, you know what I'm saying? That's the id right there. Just want to react impulsively and do it, right? And I've been there. I've actually reacted. And that's why they constantly set up traps like that for me until I was able to understand what they were doing. You know what I mean? So once I understood, I said, oh, all right, they didn't catch me with that same type of fishing net. You know what I mean? And I'm able to see it, recognize it, walk around it, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? Unless I'm physically attacked, I don't have to do anything physical to them. If they're invading my space physically, yeah, well, I do what I do. And they get the fuck back quickly. You know what I'm saying? But that's something that is not for everybody. And I'm not advocating anybody do that. What I'm just simply trying to show y'all is an example of the id and the ego. Now, the superego within me is trying to guide me through doing the right thing from stuff that I've learned through my father, may God rest his soul, my mom, you know, things that I've learned how to cope with in reality with this program, society's rules to a degree, you know what I mean? And I've come to the understanding due to the research that I've done through the psychological aspects of this program, where I'm now able to share with y'all. You know what I mean? That's what I'm up to right now. That's where I'm at. That's my current status. 3 years later, after being rudely awoken to this program. I'm about to put the next video clip, and I want y'all to like really pay attention to it because it's important that y'all understand. I want everybody to walk away with an understanding of these three things and what they use on us psychologically to trigger the id and make it an unbalanced situation where the id is mostly dominant, and that leaves you susceptible for being set up constantly.
Sigmund Freud separated the mind into three parts, with each having its own function. These are the id, the ego, and the superego. Here's a diagram where you can see where each one falls as you travel upwards from the unconscious to the preconscious and ending at the conscious level of the mind. Each of the three parts of the mind develops at a particular age. First to develop is the id. When a baby is born, its mind is bombarded with instinctual drives, which are collectively called the id. All the id wants is to have its desires fulfilled. It exists only for pleasure, and it wants immediate gratification. It does not consider what is realistic, nor does it have the ability to be logical or consider what is moral. These limitations arise because the id has no real awareness. It is just a collection of urges. It influences the mind by exerting pressure upon it, and gives a feeling of release when its urges are fulfilled. According to Freud, these drives express themselves as sexuality and aggression. As you can see, the id is located totally in the unconscious. A baby's main concern is the fulfillment of its biological drives till around the second or third year, when the second portion of the mind develops, which is the ego. The mind started out as being totally id, but by this stage, the upper portion of the id is modified by the baby's experiences with the outside world, forming the ego. The baby learns that its urges cannot always be fulfilled, and the newly formed ego must control how much of the id's urges are allowed to express. Unlike the id, which is simply a collection of instinctual drives, the ego can think about things. It can observe reality and decide what is rational and realistic. The ego is what allows the mind to act. It is like our will. It exists at each of the levels: unconscious, preconscious, and conscious. Beginning at around the age of 5, a portion of the ego is modified and it becomes the superego, the third section of the mind. The superego is our conscience. It contributes our sense of right and wrong. It is basically a collection of moral lessons we have learned from our parents, society, and organized religion. The superego uses guilt to punish the ego if it misbehaves, and rewards it with pride if it complies with its wishes. Like the id, the superego thinks nothing about what is realistic. It wants moral perfection. The id and superego are always battling each other to control behavior. So the ego's main job is to mediate between these two. It chooses which one gets to express itself. If the id expresses itself too much, a person can act in ways that are inappropriate or destructive. Similarly, if the superego has too much freedom, a person can become a rigid perfectionist. The superego would demand moral requirements that are so severe that the person could never live up to them, and he would suffer constant feelings of guilt. Like the ego, the superego is located throughout all three areas of the mind. Freud believed that a mentally healthy person has a strong ego, keeping the id and superego balanced, because if they became imbalanced, mental illness would result. Anxiety is a signal to the ego that it is facing a situation which demands action. It could be that the id or superego is becoming too dominant, or it could be a situation where there is a moral dilemma involved, in which case the id and the superego are battling for who is going to be expressed. The ego also has the ability to make use of defense mechanisms to avoid anxiety. And there you have it: the id, the ego, and the superego.
All right, so I assume that y'all have seen and heard what I was trying to tell y'all. You see how towards the end, he came out and he said that when the id or the superego has been overloaded, has been over bombarded, anxiety is a sign to let you know that something's wrong and something needs to be done, right? Some TIs are educated enough to understand through the psychological damage that this program instills in us through time, that when you are bombarded with these things, it could create mental illness in you when you didn't have anything wrong with you before. Through time, it could slowly drill into your psyche and cause you to get so stressed out that you have mental illness symptoms. You know what I'm saying? It's psychosomatic. You know, it's kind of like the placebo effect. You know what I mean? And if you start believing that you have mental illness because you're not educated or aware that the voices you're hearing aren't even real or are yours or are caused by mental illness, it's technology that's being used on some of us. Voice to skull, V2K, right? Synthetic telepathy. When you understand that these technologies and things of that nature exist, you know that there's a different world opening to your understanding. Therefore, now you could think a little more clearer because you are properly informed, as opposed to not being informed at all and having the thinking done for you by these fools. Now, going back, because I don't want to lose the train of thought or the point of me starting this whole thing. So I want to stick to that topic. So basically, going back to the id, the ego, and the superego. That's what they try to do, to bombard us with system overload so the id could be overloaded. When they do that, they win tremendously because they've been given what they wanted in the first place, which was us reacting to it in a negative way. Now, once you understand this and you're educated enough to understand what's the point behind it, you're able to handle the situations a lot more differently. Case in point, where I am now. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't able to put things together the way I'm able to do now because I wasn't aware of it back then. It took time for me to search things out, to go through the weeds of disinformation, misinformation, misdirection, all that. The disinfo, basically. And then once you realize that this is a major component of this program, the psychological operations part, you understand that that's where you really need to be studying and educating yourself on. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go into the third and final video in regards to the id, the ego, and the superego.
Sigmund Freud is one of the most famous names in psychology. Even though most of his ideas have been abandoned by modern psychology, his psychoanalytic theory formed the basis for many current psychodynamic theories. Freud was the first to discuss the unconscious mind and its role in human behavior. Freud believed that there were 3 levels of consciousness. First is the unconscious mind, which exists outside of your awareness at all times. Next is the preconscious mind, which includes all information that you are not currently aware of, but that can be recalled. Finally, the conscious mind is your current state of awareness. Remember the cartoons you used to watch as a child? The main character is confronted with a choice. On his left shoulder is a little devil pushing him toward a bad choice. On his right shoulder, a little angel is encouraging him to make a good choice. He is stuck in the middle and forced to make a decision that will affect him. This scenario is much like Freud's theory of personality. There are 3 parts to personality according to Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. These are the id, superego, and ego. The id is the first to develop, the ego is second, and the superego is the last to develop. The id is the biological component of the personality and includes your instincts. The id operates in our unconscious mind. It is like the little devil sitting on the cartoon character's shoulder that's always selfish and needy. It operates according to the pleasure principle. The pleasure principle is the idea that all of your needs should be met immediately. Then there's the superego. The superego exists in all 3 levels of consciousness. The superego is like the little angel. It is always concerned with what is socially acceptable. The superego pushes you to obtain the ego ideal, or your view of what is right. It also represents your conscience, or your view of what is considered to be wrong. Finally, we have the ego. The ego operates in your preconscious and conscious mind. The ego is part of the personality that makes your decisions. This is like the cartoon character in the example. The ego is in the middle, makes the decision, and faces the consequences. The ego operates according to the reality principle. The reality principle is the idea that the desires of the id must
All right, y'all. That was it between the id, the ego, and the superego. Now I'm going to move forward into the second part of this compilation that I'm, making for y'all. All right, so this one's going to consist of triggers, anchors, semantic priming, things of that nature. These are things that they use on us psychologically, visually, audibly, to sink in their claws mentally, to gain some sort of control. Trying to give you examples of these things through video clips of movie scenes and video clips of other people's stuff on YouTube so that you guys can have a better mental grasp of where I'm coming from with these things. Pardon me, y'all. I had a call. I had to take that. It was work, so you know how it goes. Anyway, so basically right now I'm going to start off with the second part of the compilation of videos into what triggers and anchors and semantic priming and things of that nature, and how they use that, incorporate it within our psychological targeting that they do to us. Stay tuned.
do that?
Lee Yuan Sei, legendary gambler. He bets on everything, anything, huge cash bets all the time. Once the Bellagio put Bill Gates out of the high roller suite because Lee Yuan was flying in. He is the perfect Vic.
How did you know who he was gonna pick?
We told him to. We've been telling him all day. From the moment he left his hotel room, we've been priming him, programming his subconscious. He's been seeing the number 55 all day long. On the elevator, in the lobby, even the stick pin on the doormat. Not only that, we loaded his route from the hotel to the stadium. He looks out the window, primers are everywhere. Now he doesn't see it, but he does. There's no getting around it. He even sees far. Suggestions are everywhere, from the number of flowers in a vase.
That is genius.
Yeah, and it's not only what he sees, it's what he hears. The Mandarin word for 5 is woo. There are 124 woo-woos in sympathy for the devil. Now, he's not registering it, but it's all there. So when he picks up those binoculars, looks out on the field, sees a familiar face with the number 55 on his jersey, some little voice in the back of his mind says, that's it. And he thinks it's intuition, and he picks.
Okay, I'm sure y'all peeped that right there. That was a great example, a perfect example of what triggers anchoring, semantic priming, things of that nature. What they mean, how they look, how it's deployed people, you know what I'm saying? It's basically classical conditioning, power of association, power of suggestion, as a veteran EI/TI has taught me. And it's pretty much it. And it's effective. It's mostly effective when the victim is not aware at all of what's happening. Feel me? So with that being said, I'm going to go into a couple of other clips that have to do with dark NLP, which is basically dark neuro-linguistic programming tactics. Interestingly enough, another brother of mine from California on the West Coast, brother by the name of Nappy Head Roots, you know what I'm saying? He had a situation over there where he was driving on the street in the nighttime, and you know, he has these perps come out of left field. You know, when the light is green, that's when they'll cross, and that's to cause obstructions and accidents and things of that nature. You know how they do us, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, in this particular situation, what happened was the perp was crossing the street as he was waiting for the red light to change. But what this perp did was he waited until he got right in front of Nappy through his line of vision, and he took his cap off and then put it back on as he made it across the other corner of the street he was crossing to. I had a similar situation happen here in my building where I reside with a delivery guy. This guy was coming up the stairs coughing up a storm. I didn't catch that because he stopped. Obviously, when I came out and I had the phone on record waiting for him to come down, he must have known that through a notification or whatever. On his way down, he looked at me and I looked at him, and then you could tell when he was turning the corner of the stairwell going down, he looked behind him because he didn't know what I was going to do. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know, fear had him like wondering what the heck is this guy, you know, right here for, and what is he capable of doing? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, once he got down to the last stairwell where he felt safe, I guess, and he wanted to do his little dark NLP tactic right quick, which was, I was expecting something, but I wasn't sure. And I'm glad he did it because I caught it on film. And that's basically the same tactic The dark NLP tactic that Nappy Head Roots had done to him over there in California by this perp crossing the street, it was done to me over here on the East Coast in New York City in my building by another delivery guy / perp. All right, so without any further ado, I'm going to put the 2 clips up so y'all can see for yourselves. And I'll be right back after that with another follow-up, 3rd part of this video compilation. All right, so I'm pretty sure you saw that and you got to see and witness for yourself what I meant. Those are triggers, those are anchors, those are things that they let us know that they're part of this program and they're participating wittingly in our psychological trauma, our psychological warfare deployment on us. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're pretty much saying to us when they do things like that. So it's a constant reminder of what we're in. You know what I'm saying? To get us to react violently, to get us to react irrationally. In other words, to provoke the id within us constantly. It's like a sleeping lion in a cage. You keep poking it with a stick. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, what's gonna happen, y'all? You already know. This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? So we have to do what we have to do to educate ourselves and fortify our minds with this education and pass it on to other fellow EI/TIs. That's what I'm about. That's what I'm doing now currently, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. All right, y'all. So now I'm going to go on to the 3rd and final part of this video compilation. The 3rd and final part of this video compilation consists of another psychological aspect of this program. This was brought up to my attention by another fellow EI/TI. She's on YouTube. From what I understand, she was a former social worker here in New York City who's wheelchair bound in her home. And she was, put in this program. She was put in this program, in my opinion, because she actually tried to help the children. She tried to give them a practical way of dealing with things and helping them out and showing support. And therefore, they didn't want her within the system because she went totally against the agenda that was set forth for the society and the ruling elite, of course, behind it. Now, what this lady brought to my attention was something incredibly, important for all of us to know and understand it. I'm not sure how many of y'all heard of this term before. I'm sure at least some of y'all have. For those who haven't, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what it is, pretty much. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is basically a pyramid structure consisting of the most basic needs of a human being. From the bottom, working its way up to the final top of the pyramid, you have the bottom part, which is the most basic of needs. If you ask yourself, what are they, right? To breathe air, oxygen, to eat, to drink, to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Those are the most basic needs of a human being. That's the most bottom part, right? Then you move up towards social interaction. That's important too for our emotional and mental development. You know what I'm saying? Human interaction. Create friendships and socialize. And if you're a heterosexual male, have a girlfriend, love interest. You know what I'm saying? That builds self-esteem. Then from there, you move up to security. Or maybe I said it backwards. Maybe security is the one below, no, right above the most basic needs. Right after I said, the drinking, eating, sleeping. Sleeping is very important too, y'all. So you already know why they sleep deprive us so much. Anyway, so once you have the most basic needs, then you look for security, making sure that everything is secure where you leave it in your home, that no one could gain entry or, steal your stuff, right? Remember these things, by the way. Then you have, like I said, the social status, the self-esteem. Then once you establish all those needs leading up to the final top of the pyramid, which is self-actualization, that's when you decide whether you want to travel, help other people, find your creative talent and, and just grow, create with it. You know what I'm saying? That is what bugged me out when I found and heard this information out. The reason being is because if you look at that structure within the pyramid, like the social worker, targeted individual, social worker had stated, which I got my information from her. That's why I got the idea to do this video about it. Is that if you look at the pyramid structure itself, all of those things, one by one, they start taking away from a TI to eventually either make them homeless, commit suicide, kill themselves, right? Kill somebody else for violent lashing out. You know what I mean? End up in a mental asylum or prison. But just take a real solid good look at the pyramid structure, the hierarchy of needs that Abraham Maslow created, which is another, I believe, psychologist or psychotherapist, definitely within the psych field. And another fellow EI/TI veteran told me, he said, I wouldn't be surprised that this person got his data from actual human experimentation, the way they do to us, if that makes any sense. In any case, I'm going to go on with the videos, and I want y'all to understand how important it is for y'all to study this stuff, to educate yourselves on this stuff. Because this is real shit. This is all interconnected, interwoven within this program. You know, ignorance is not bliss, y'all. Maybe for some out there, for the perps or certain perps. But for us, we can't afford to have ignorance as bliss within our reality. Y'all already know what time it is. Stay tuned.
Work is a fact of life. But what makes people spend their lives in offices, factories, farms, and schools? What motivates people to do all the things they do? If we, as managers and supervisors, can gain a better understanding of human motivation, the attempts people make to satisfy their needs and drives, we can help them become more productive, more efficient, and at the same time, happier human beings. Perhaps one of the most interesting theories about human motivation was proposed by Dr. Abraham Maslow, a clinical psychologist. Although his is only one of many theories, it warrants our consideration, for in it we may find new insights into what makes people tick, and, for that matter, what makes us tick. Maslow contended that man is an ever-wanting animal. As one of his needs is satisfied, another appears in its place. Man then becomes motivated toward satisfying this new need. Maslow noted that human needs generally tend to develop in a certain sequence, beginning with the most basic needs and progressing through needs of higher levels. Together they form a hierarchy of needs. What are these needs? The most basic ones are physiological, the needs of the body for food and shelter. A starving man will focus all his attention on food and be hardly concerned with anything else. But once man's physiological needs are sufficiently satisfied, another need manifests itself, the need for safety. The individual seeks to assure himself that his physiological needs, now satisfied, will continue to be satisfied. Thus, he seeks protection against physical danger, illness, loss of job, and other threats to his security. When an individual's physiological and safety needs are generally satisfied, another need now comes into focus. Maslow called this third need a social need, the yearning to belong, to have friends and acquaintances, to love and be loved. Man is gregarious. He cannot live in isolation. But what now? When these three levels of need are generally satisfied, is everything accounted for? Man is still a wanting animal. According to Maslow, his next major need is the need for esteem. It consists of one's sense of self-esteem, as well as the esteem and recognition one receives from others. Although these four needs are certainly important and motivate individuals to action, Maslow considered them to be deficit needs. Most people spend so much time and energy trying to satisfy these deficit needs that they rarely can direct themselves toward the fifth and most important need, the need for self-actualization. The self-actualizing person, freed at last from the arduous tasks of satisfying the externally imposed deficit needs, is now ready to explore the possibilities of his true self, to use his interests, talents, and abilities to fulfill his highest potential as a human being. At this point, one may well ask, what value is there in knowing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory? How does it apply to an organizational setting? Well, let's see. As we recall, at the lowest level is the desire to satisfy physiological needs. Here is one way this may be reflected in a work setting. Hello, Mike. How did it go today?
Oh, rotten. The heat in there is enough to drive you crazy. And the noise. I can't take it. I just gotta find another job.
In this example, Mike's physiological needs are not being met, a situation often leading to high absenteeism and turnover. In a work setting, physiological needs may include tolerable noise and temperature levels, and a comfortable body position during task performance. The next level in Maslow's hierarchy is safety. Let's see how this manifests itself within the organization.
I heard they're going to lay off 5 more people in our department. I wonder who's next.
If I lose my job, I'd really be in trouble. I'm divorced and with a child to raise.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'd pay my bills.
Here we have relatively comfortable surroundings, but now on this level, employees are concerned with safety and security needs. They want some measure of assurance that what they presently have will continue, that they won't lose it all through injury, illness, or layoff. Next in the hierarchy is the level of social needs. Let's see how these needs may be reflected in the work context.
What about you, Fred?
Gee, I don't know any of those guys. Wish I could make some friends. Before they moved me out here, I knew everyone in the plant. I guess the move was a good deal. But sure as hell is lonesome.
Really great. What do you think?
Joe is at a level where his physiological and safety needs are generally satisfied. No problem there. What he is feeling is the need to have friends at work, a group with whom he can relate. Maslow observed that people frequently increase their productivity in a setting where social relationships are warm and cordial.
Yeah, I was there, and then I was transferred here. I didn't like it at first, but...
Pardon me. Say, would you pass the sugar, please?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Thanks. By the way, you're new here, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
Why don't you come over and join us?
Oh, thank you.
No point in sitting there alone. My name is Nick. What's yours?
Nick, I'm Joe.
Joe?
Hendricks, yeah.
Joe Hendricks. I'd like you to meet Shelley.
Hello, Shelley.
This is Fred.
Hi, Fred. Very nice to meet you.
Co-workers of yours.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Oh, New York. Yeah, came out here about 2 weeks ago.
That's funny. We were just talking about different towns.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. I was telling him I'd like to go up to the new plant in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. I hear it's really something. It's really
At the fourth level of Maslow's hierarchy is the need for self-esteem, as well as the esteem of others.
Say, Steve, here's something for you.
What? Where's this from? Oh, I don't believe it. This is beautiful. Fantastic. Top producer award.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot. Great.
To satisfy esteem needs within the organization, Human beings must feel that others respect them, that their efforts are recognized. Satisfaction of this need leads to self-confidence, strength, and a feeling of adequateness. Is Steve a totally satisfied man? His physiological, safety, social, and esteem needs are all gratified. But according to Maslow, there is still more. The highest level need, the need for self-actualization, the need to be turned on to life, to feel that everything is worthwhile. However, most people fulfill their self-actualization needs away from the job.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
All during the week, Jane and I work hard. But on weekends, we take off. To the mountains, to the desert, to the beach. That's what we call living.
Many people feel that their real life begins the moment their job ends. But is it possible to be self-actualized in and through one's work? Let's see.
I have been a biochemist all my life. What I like about my job most is the diversity and challenge. Besides research and development of new tests, there's always something new every day. Right now, I'm into making training films for students. I really like that the best.
Extremely interesting. As a matter of fact, I feel that I'm very fortunate to be able to work in a line of work that I'm very much in love with. Usually after doing a good job, a good tune-up job, it gives me a sense of satisfaction that is very difficult to explain.
Hamburgers are ready.
Oh, so am I. Oh, good.
Then we switch to plane 2. We go through the same procedure. We get down and zero it, release it, stop the machine, index our numbers again. We have a balanced tire. Place the weight at 12 o'clock.
I think I've got it. Do you mind if I try it?
Go ahead.
Thank you. And these always bring us up to the highest apex then. This is really, I really like this.
We have just seen a few examples of people satisfying their highest need, the need for self-actualization through their jobs. For these fortunate people, self-actualization, the need to enjoy what they're doing, to consider it worthwhile and fulfilling, is being satisfied in their work situation. As managers and supervisors, what does Maslow's theory mean to us? Just this: we should be aware of people's needs. We should be aware that as soon as one need is satisfied, another comes into focus. We should be aware that the attempts people make to satisfy their needs are the motivating forces in their lives. If we gain a deeper understanding into what people really want and what they really need, we can indeed help them become more productive, more efficient, and at the same time happier human beings.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a theory in psychology. It argues that there are 5 stages of human needs that motivate our behavior. Abraham Maslow proposed his theory in 1943 after studying what he called exemplary people, such as Albert Einstein or Eleanor Roosevelt. First, there are physiological needs, such as the need to breathe, eat, drink, or sleep. The moment we get enough of that and we feel awake and our bellies are full, we get motivated by the next thing. Now we want safety. We try to earn money, build up resources, and look for shelter that protects us against dangers. Once we are satisfied and feel safe, we have time to think about what we want next. At stage 3, we seek love and belonging. We desire to be close to family and friends, belong to a society, or join a gang. But the moment we feel completely part of a group, we already wish to be a little different than the rest. At stage 4, we look for esteem, self-confidence, and respect from our peers. We want to be someone. If we have money, we buy a fancy watch. If we have a brain, we write or think or work a lot. Motivation to perform and compete is now at its highest. Students, sportsmen, and inventors excel. Neil Armstrong even flew to the moon. Only if we breathe and drink and eat and sleep enough, and we feel safe and part of a group and still special, only then can we reach level 5, self-actualization. Now we can relax, be creative, accept facts for what they are, give back or do whatever we want. No more pressure, unless of course there is trouble below. If you are a leader and believe in the theory, use it. First, make sure everyone has eaten well. Then make them feel safe and help them belong to a group. Once they feel they belong, they are ready to stand out and excel. Thanks for watching. Even if we try to keep it short, each video is quite some work. First, we research and write a script. Then we brainstorm ideas. And after that, we draw the storybook. Then it's recorded, narrated, and finally edited. If you want to support us to make more videos on learning and education, visit patreon.com/sprouts.
All right, y'all. So y'all got to see what I was trying to put out there, and I hope that y'all learned as much as I did when I, saw those videos. Very powerful. In any case, I want y'all to take away something from this positive for yourself, as much as I did. I know what I learned was my stage 3, which is love and belonging. First and foremost, my mom's, which is all I have left after my pop passed away, even though he's with me spiritually like he told me he would be. May he rest in peace. I have now a new family, my EI/TI family, which is an extended family of mine. Nigel Nicholson, Night of Thunder, Nappy Head Roots, Sister Q, Sister Daquita. You know what I'm saying? These are the people who I feel that connection with, that camaraderie with. You know what I mean? So being that these people took away these so-called friends that were in my life prior, I have now replaced them with genuine people, genuine friends, genuine connections that are going through the same thing I'm going through. And we all have our own signature way, our own individual strengths. You know what I'm saying? Some are similar, some are somewhat the same, but at the end of the day, we are together stronger than we were before. Now, in regards to my self-actualization, I haven't reached that satisfactory yet. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is I'm getting there, because my self-actualization to a certain degree is doing this. is helping y'all, putting this information out there to help educate, to help support. You know what I'm saying? When I create these videos and I got the format on the weekends to do my live streaming and have these phone calls for us to vent, share, you know, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Educate, even entertain. You know what I mean? These are things that are important for the human species to continue surviving and evolving. They try to take that from us, but we're reestablishing a new way of doing it. If that makes any sense. All right, y'all, that's enough for me. This is RTTI in New York City. Signing out until the next one.